Tell me how you wake up, I just wanna wake up. UFO again, doesn't matter what it takes up. Crazy in the dome, baby, can I get a heads up? Go, they try to break us, go, they try to break us. Wanna get away, would you tell me your location? Feels like yesterday, I remember I would stay up. Baby, can you say some? Wanna feel sensation, promise you I'll never get numb, I'm too precious. I'm too precious. I'm too precious. Forever and ever, fully blazing. I don't remember no better days. You know I'm waiting just whenever, just whatever. Burning, forever and ever, fully blazing. I don't remember no better days. You know I'm waiting just whenever, just whatever.
The healer doesn't go around telling people that they are healers, they just are. The witch doesn't hop over the hedge to prove she's a witch, she just is. The medicine man doesn't explain why his medicine cures, it just does. The shaman doesn't claim to connect heaven and earth, it just happens. The way you alchemize a soulless world into a sacred world is to treat everyone as if they are sacred, until the sacred in them remembers. As each new person awakens, the timeline changes and an alternate reality becomes our current reality. I show you that I love you. You show that love to another. An act of kindness by me is an act of kindness from you to another. The power to change our realities one by one will change what the reality of this world is.
Testing, are we on? And 4, 3, 2.
And we are live. Good afternoon. This is the real George of the Jungle. I do want to do a small introduction to Anthony Prolific, co-owner of Mind Shrooms and as well an entrepreneur, ongoing studies with spirituality and lots of help around the community. My brother, can you please start with your first and last name?
Yeah, Anthony Lopez, and thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.
It's going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. Definitely look into this conversation. This conversation was, long awaited. I wish it would have been the first episode, but everybody should be the first episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Brother, so before we do get started, I do want to lay out a little bit of a connection between the audience and how we met. So Anthony was what we can say not only a partner in the work field, because we worked at Watson Chevrolet, but he was somehow a person that didn't connect with me at all. There was no conversation or monologue, but it somehow transpired to a bigger relationship later along the line. We started to focus on ourselves, and throughout that journey, we kind of found ourselves in the same steps, and that's something that I still, to this day, I'm like, shit, like it's like a mirroring of each other. What are we trying to teach each other? So today we're gonna, maybe figure out some of those lessons or figure out some more things about ourselves. But this is a conversation that, has long a hold. And finally, brother, with the first question.
Yeah.
What is it that you do now, my man?
So right now, since we've parted ways, I guess. Yeah, so I was basically on a journey of like entrepreneurship. Like right when we met, I was kind of like thrusting myself into like, what do I need to do, right? What do I need to do to become an entrepreneur? And it was like, well, I want to learn sales, and I want to learn, like management, like working with people, right?
Yeah.
Like because that's going to be a huge part of building a business. Is like you're going to have people under you, you're going to have people, executing the plan basically. So you might as well learn how to. Might as well learn how to work with people and manage people and learn how to be a leader, I guess. You know what I'm saying? So so when we met, kind of backtracking a little bit, but like when we met, we were in the sales. I was in the sales arena at that point. You know what I'm saying? I was learning the sales. Went to a dispensary, got the the management stuff under my belt. From that point, started the business, and started a business and actually stepped back a little bit from a business and now back in the work field, in the workforce, and going back to school. So that's what I'm doing now. But still kind of playing with, the business on the marketing side and things like that.
And sorry to cut you there, brother, but what job do you have, or what line of field do you work in?
Yeah, so I'm with a local group, local nonprofit organization called Native Music Coalition, and basically what it is it's an organization that helps at-risk youth in the Native community. It also helps anybody coming out of incarceration, out of the prison system. They're going into reentry homes and sober living homes, and they're completing programs that help them. They basically we help them get back on their feet. So they get their license. They try to get a job. They get insurance. They get all the basic necessities that they need in life, and they're staying sober in these homes, and they're just kind of relearning responsibility, and we're basically helping bring them back into society so that they don't go back. And even if they do, struggle, a lot of them struggle with addiction, things like that. Even if they do, struggle with addiction and stuff, or maybe don't stay sober, this program isn't like a place where it's like you're going right back to jail, right? It's somewhere where like, okay, instead of going right back to jail, we're going to put you in a rehab, or we're going to try to dry you out a little bit, get you back on track, so it's like really aimed towards helping them stay out of the system and getting them back out into society and taking control of their lives again. So I'm working with them. I started in the sober living home, the reentry home, and now I'm actually with the youth program, which is really it's really rewarding, like being able to work with young kids, coming from broken homes, and they got parents with addictions and things like that. So we teach cultural education. So we get them in touch with their roots, their Native heritage. And it's really great. We have a lot of Native elders in the Yaqui community and the TO community that come through. They teach, the wisdom to the children. We teach them lessons. There's a horse camp, 3-day horse camp that we just had, where they learn how to ride horses. It's just it's a really amazing program. So that's what I'm doing now, and I'm also like going to school.
And what are you going for school again, brother?
So about a year and a half before I started the Mind Shrooms business, I decided I finally felt like I kind of found what I was meant to do. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of like my path opened up. And I was like, I'm 35. I'm going to go back to school, and I want to be a psychologist. And I think I've had a lot of growth happen over the last couple of years going to therapy myself. And there's just something that I kind of experience usually on a day-to-day basis, but I really feel like I'm meant to kind of like help people, and people seem to kind of really open up to me at times. You know what I'm saying? And especially like when I went to those when I started working at the reentry homes, like a couple of the guys, I just never really knew them, but they immediately just kind of opened up to me and put their like life story out on the table. And it was like, no, that's kind of hard to do with somebody you don't really know, let alone somebody you do. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
it's part of that healing. So once they
Yeah.
get to that point, it's like you're helping them to go through that process.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's
I feel like it's just like a level of comfortability that certain people have with me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm kind of just, I don't know, for me, I'm just kind of proud of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I like that people can come to me and feel like they can get something off their chest without having like a judgmental, person there like trying to fix them, or you know what I'm saying, or like casting a shadow on them. You know what I'm saying? So.
It's like the people that have been in the stories, or the people that actually gone through the struggle, and that's something that I relate with you a lot. Like I see the empath, the natural just way of flow with people, and I think that some people say it's just inherited, because some people are just natural born charismatics and they just have the way to talk or the way to correspond with energies. Which it might be true, it might be not. Some people come with good karma or bad karma, depending on what the situation, as we take it through our perspective. But I can say the same thing, brother. Like when I was young, like I was a stupid kid, just doing whatever the hell I wanted. But I saw myself with people reaching out to me, to the point where my stepfather would tell me, like, "Hey, you're no psychologist, bro. Like you shouldn't be giving advice." Yeah. And I'm like, "No, I'm not giving advice. Like they're just talking to me and flowing their whole life to me." It's like because they saw how. I don't know, bro. It's like when somebody walks in and it's like they're full with happiness, and they're just like they carry themselves with that such passion, and it's like that person just is like I don't know. It's not like I'm saying like I'm a magnet, but it's always I've had to carry myself with that potential, because I give no F's. It's just like you either like me or you don't. I'm gonna be in front of you whether you like it or not. You're still gonna see me do what I do. Yeah. And it comes to the point where like people will ask for help years later that I haven't gotten into contact, and they just reach out to you, or you think about them and then they contact you as well. So it's like those synchronicities in life, and I feel like that's the same thing.
Yeah. And I feel like it's a lot of it's energy, and like a lot of people read that energy, like it's known that we have a field around us, like an energy field, and some people are more in tune with it, some people feel it more than others, but we all have it. And I think the big thing though is like as I've gotten older and people coming to me is like there was a time where I was like trying to fix. You know what I'm saying? Like if you came to me and you had a problem and you were kind of divulging this information to me, my mind kind of went straight to fix. Like,
because that's us. Like, we were nurturing, everybody. I'm saying as a human species.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But as I've grown older, I found out that that's not always the approach. That's not the way.
By no means.
Because like you have to discern whether or not this person is just like venting to you, or they want some advice. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's just you got to be blunt and ask that question. But sometimes you just need to like not say anything and just let them spit it out. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I think it's as I've gotten older, I've learned that boundary. You know what I'm saying? I've learned to kind of like almost just connect with people on a certain level and be like, I've experienced that too, and just kind of just let them know it's all good. You know what I'm saying? But and even on a deeper level, like psychology isn't, or like being a therapist isn't just necessarily like listening to people talk. Like once you figure out the trauma and once you figure out what these people have gone through and what they want to achieve, you have to have a tactic to address that, and you have to reframe, behaviors and perceptions and all that kind of stuff. And it's very interesting. And I'm luckily enough, working with this NMC, I actually am working one-on-one with a therapist, as kind of like her sidekick, and we go into the homes of some of these children who have some pretty extreme behavioral issues and stuff like that. And so I'm very blessed I'm on this path of learning, and I'm being able to get like one-on-one experience with a therapist and with You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
these behavioral issues. So, like, I'm just lucky to be able to get this experience. You know what I'm
You
saying?
are, man. It's a good experience, and it's setting you on your path, and it seems like everything's just unfolding at this point.
It is, yeah. Like it happened. It literally, the moment I switched got back onto my school path and the path that I knew that I wanted, like everything, the universe like aligned for me. It was like, here's this job, here, like here's your school, like now you're solid, like here, and it was almost like it was crazy that I started working with the kids because it's like, oh, you want to be a psychologist, like check this out, because I have a couple kids. I love kids, but I've never worked. We have 40 kids at this program, and
it's a lot to manage.
Yeah, and there's like 4 or 5 of us only. So it's like today, like literally today, we went. You ever took 40 kids to the zoo?
Well, we were at the zoo earlier, bro.
Were you?
Yeah,
we were at the zoo too. Yeah, we took like 40 kids to the zoo. It was quite eventful, but. So it's like a true test too. I was like, oh, so you want to be a psychologist? Like, here it is. Like, do you really want to do this? And those are really good questions to ask yourself. Like, especially when you pick something that's like, do you really want to fucking do this? Or do you want to, like, is it just something that you're romanticizing in your mind? You know what I'm saying? Because we all do that. I know I do that.
And that's how we figure out, because when you're doing it, like when we were, I call it the gladiator round where we were at in Watson, because everybody goes through a sales job, whether if it's selling, perfumes or selling cars. Yeah. I feel like it's a gladiator ring because it's going to test you whether you're going to be ready to sell or not, regardless the product, if it's ice or not.
Yeah. And there's also that honeymoon phase though. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like new, it's a novel experience, it's fun, it's cool. But then after a year of you just kind of, it gets a little bit mundane, but are you willing to stick through it through those points? You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of like endurance is kind of important. You know what I'm saying? If you really have a passion for it, like it's almost like you gotta like push past like the boring, the mundane, that kind of part to get to the other side of the mountain.
That's what these animals taught me, brother. Because honestly, when I was pulling up to Watson, already, man, it was chaotic. It's like I felt like I was somewhere that I was going to succeed. And it was like in a blink of an eye, I found another opportunity because I saw I didn't just go because of the money. I didn't just go because of the vision. You know how some of these companies work, where they outline certain things like you're going to have so much clients and this and this and that. Yeah, it taught me to do the grunt work, brother. Like I'm going to tell you this story, and I'll tell it again later on the podcast with Jesse Outla. But this guy was my mentor. I was living with him for a couple of weeks in Vegas, and he was doing in-ground training with me. But it came a point where I wasn't making shit for about a week, and I was like, I need to get on my feet. What can I do? And I was looking down the window from the 5th floor in the center of I think it was Tivoli Village or somewhere by Curaçao and Tivoli Village, I believe. But right in that center, I was like freaking out because like shit, I need to send money to my wife like this week, like it needs to happen now. And I was talking to so many people, and I was meeting so many figures and trying to pitch and sell, and they would pitch and sell, and you have to wait for insurance, or either something wouldn't sell. But then it came, I was like, shit, you know what? I got up, I went down to the 1st floor, and I walked around the plaza, and within 30 minutes I got 13 phones from each manager in the section. So I was like, shit, like I could do this. I just need to get my balls up. Like that's where I got the courage, and I was like, shit, what can I do next? So then we started dialing in and just started calling people and just embarrassing myself and just fucking up over and over and over again. And that's what was the grunt work for me. And then when I came back, I was still fucking up. I'm not saying I was perfect, but I came back and with a mentality that I need to make money now. And I was just like, because how I was like having your natural paycheck at Watson and just going with the flow. It was nice. But then out of
hitting that minimum wage paycheck did not feel good.
Oh no!
Did you ever? I hit it a couple times.
Yeah, I hit it 2 months
when I was starting off. Yeah, it was like a $1,200 paycheck, and I was just like,
I worked how many hours?
And I haven't had a paycheck for 30 days. You know what I'm saying? It's like it was rough. So it was that shit taught us a lot.
It did
to grind. It really did.
It did, man. But it teaches you courage, and with all that testosterone there, brother, like there's no reason for you not to push.
Absolutely, yeah.
Man, we degraded a little bit, or off-graded there a little bit. Digressed. Bro.
I do that a lot.
Yeah. Digress. Your daily routine. What do you see yourself doing on a daily that is like, oh shit, this is what shaped me now. This is what I think if I wouldn't be doing this, I wouldn't be where I'm at.
Yeah. I would say like when I'm in discipline mode, I have a routine. I feel like it just goes way back. It's always like felt like a grind for me to find discipline. Like I feel like I've always been striving to find discipline. And when I get into a discipline mode, which I'll admit I'm not in right now, but when I am in it, I would say my routine looks like getting up at around 5 a.m. and just trying to take like the first 2 hours, 2.5 hours of the day to myself, like to really put me on a trajectory for the rest of the day. Because it works miracles. Like you put yourself into like a mindset early on in the morning, and anything that happens after that, you can handle it. You're super grounded. You know what I'm saying? You're like calm. You're ready for it because you've prepared. And so what that looks like is like probably like getting up at like 5, stretching for about 10 to 15 minutes, just because a lot of lower back issues from just injuries, playing football, weightlifting as a kid. And then either getting into like a workout, right? So like it depends. If I'm bulking, if I'm trying to like put muscle on, if I'm working out in the garage in my weight room, I'm going to probably eat a big breakfast after I stretch, maybe like 6 eggs and some rice, take some supplements, and then get into the garage and start my workout. While I'm working out, I'm probably going to put on a podcast, an audio book. I'm going to journal. So in between sets, I'm in my notebook, I'm journaling. And this typically is like usually like an audiobook that I'm super interested in about. I'm just super big on personal development. Like I rarely read nonfiction. I'm always absorbing information, like constantly. I'm trying to, ever since I was young, and we could get into this later if you want to, but like at one point I was very ardent atheist, and it actually woke me up. It was a bit of an awakening becoming an atheist, because it woke me up out of this like stupor I was in, and I started consuming information like crazy. Like I just wanted it. Like I started learning about the universe and the stars and science and evolution and all this, you know what I'm saying? And it really sparked a new thing in me, but that's never stopped. I haven't stopped consuming information. Now I'm like, I just want to learn, you know? So that's what I'll do. I'll put a book on. A lot of times I'll put the Law of Attraction on. If you haven't heard of the Law of Attraction, Abraham Hicks, amazing stuff. It's really like it's what the movie The Secret was based on. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of people talking about the Law of Attraction lately, but it's when you put it into practice and you start seeing like what happens with it, like the things that start flowing into your life once you change your mindset, like you'll believe in it. You will. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't happen like at the snap of a finger, but it puts things in motion.
Yeah.
And so I'll put myself in a very positive mindset. In between sets, I'll journal positive aspects. You just take anything out of your life that maybe you're negative about, or even that you're happy about, and write it down and really write in depth about it, about positivity or how positive this aspect is, and just reframe that in between sets. And that right there, like lifting weights, especially for a man, I think just us as men, like testosterone just really puts us in a really great frame of mind. Like I think people see testosterone as like this, like, oh, macho shit. Like, but it's really like for men, it's just our like grounding hormone. Like it's like, instead of it's like, oh, I'm going to go attack the world. It's actually more like, it's all right. I got this. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's what it does for you. It's a very grounding chemical. And that's what I'm trying to achieve in that morning workout. Usually after the workout, I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to fuel up again. And then after the shower, I'm going to calm down. My body was hyped up. I'm going to calm down, and usually I'll get into a meditation. Usually a visualization. I'm really big into Joe Dispenza. Have you heard of Joe Dispenza?
No, I have not.
And his work with his meditation work is pretty amazing.
Did you send me something about the holotropic breathwork, Roman?
So holotropic breathwork, that wasn't Joe Dispenza, but yeah, I think we might have talked about that before. But he's got some great stuff going on. It's kind of hard to explain because he's really smart, really in depth, and I don't think I could do it justice. But if you read his book, Becoming Superhuman, or just go onto YouTube and find Joe Dispenza like meditations, they're really amazing. Yeah, they're phenomenal. Like I've had some weird experiences after having like a very deep meditation. But typically after the meditation, like that's kind of like where my routine is done, and I'm like ready for the day. But yeah, like I said, currently at the moment, it's weird because like I was saying earlier, like my whole like last maybe like 10, 12 years of my life has like been leading up to like, I feel like I've been trying to get into a disciplined state. And the very end of 2022, I ended with like just like 4 legit solid months of like pure discipline, like a state that I've never been in, because I call it the hedonic monk. I'm always like either in monk mode or I'm in like hedonism, right? So I'm either like drinking and smoking and taking drugs and eating food and like just purely pleasure seeking, or I'm like purely like disciplined. You know what I'm saying? And it's always like this balance, and I've never really like truly found this balance. But like the last 4 months, I did like 4 months of pure solid discipline.
How old are you, brother?
I'm 36. I'll be 37 in probably a week or two.
So we're exactly 10 years apart.
Yeah. How old are you?
26.
Are you really?
2 days ago.
Yeah. What's weird is I'm like friends with a lot of 26-year-olds right now, and it's kind of weird that you just say that. Just for like numerology shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I have like a few people who are 26 and 22 right now. It's like a big number. Anyway, off track, but
it's a close a path like with that numerology, because my life path is 8.
Yeah.
So it's 2, 6,
Yeah.
8.
Yeah.
So it's the beginning of my journey, supposedly, according to the reading of numerology.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, no, like as far as right now, anyway, though, like I'm just in this moment, like where I've been trying to grow so much and reach, become a better person, grow as a person, become more disciplined, like catch this momentum, right, of life. And I'm at this point now where I've done that for so long that I'm actually just kind of like enjoying where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? I've reached a certain level and I'm just kind of like, you know what? I want to be content right here.
And it feels so good.
And it feels kind of good. You know what I'm saying? It does feel kind of good. And I feel really grounded. I'm like happy where I'm at. My relationships are good. Like, yeah, it's just good right now. So I'm not super stressed out. And I know I have much more to do and I have much more growth to attain and stuff like that. But at the moment, I'm just going to kind of revel in where I'm at. You know what I'm saying?
It feels nice to just settle and say, like, this is it.
Yeah.
This is the moment.
Yeah.
Heading with the psychedelics, I'll drift off of the questions here a little bit, but do you feel like, being that you did mind shrooms or the whole kit, and I had asked you about a kit, brother, you didn't bring a kit.
I didn't bring a kit.
So
sorry about that.
If you have a YouTube video, we can always play it on here.
Yeah.
And show the people as well.
We'll definitely. I don't know if you want to put in the link for the video after this, but
Absolutely.
I have like a very cool unboxing video by like a local guy here named Chuck Collins. He's into aquaponics, and he grows plants like using tilapia fish and the water runoff to it. Like he's got a cool setup. He's a really smart dude. But he has like an unboxing that I'd love. Like if you want, we could kind of link it up to this video.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they could actually like look at the kit itself. Also, mindshrooms.com, MYND has our whole product lineup that you can go take a look at for sure. Of him actually opening up one of our kits straight out of the mail.
Did you guys hear us when we were out?
And what's really cool too is he has a guy named Chad Borset who is part of the Arizona mushroom growers society of Arizona, and he kind of does like a thorough breakdown of the kit and gives us some thumbs up. So pretty stoked about that.
One of the things that we use daily in our culinary skills and our culinary craft at home is mushrooms. Now, with the global shortage of with the global supply chain shortage that's
Kind of a
going
long
on,
video.
trying to get fresh mushrooms will cost you an arm and a leg. No pun intended, because they don't have arms or legs. Okay?
Should I skip forward for that?
Yeah, maybe like 7 minutes or so
at your own home. And there's a local company that we have here in Tucson. It's called Mindshrooms.
Yeah, right about there.
So, yeah, that's what I would say about those.
So, without further ado, let's get the opening, unboxing this beautiful package from Mindshrooms. Now,
Thank you for joining, Bosa.
The packaging was magnificent. There was nothing sticking around. There were the very safe and cautious safety bags lined around the entire box, so that none of the product that was inside, the elements that are inside, were harmed in any way whatsoever. No bumps, gashes.
And that packaging looks weak.
No, nothing. So that's pretty positive right there. I'd also like to point out how
well, to be fair, he's local, so we didn't have to
get
too far.
out the box.
All right.
It wasn't like
It
full
sort
on
of explains itself.
UPS
what it
did
does.
its job.
Isn't that right, Ted? Like it
yeah,
comes
I'm
apart.
pretty sure UPS
and the
kicks every
pieces that you
package
need
out.
basically tell you how this all goes
It's
together.
like Jim Carrey.
So,
Oh yeah.
Chad, what is this box used for? What would this one be used for again?
Well, the first thing I noticed when we opened this up here is this tub has 2 holes cut in the side of it here. And as you can see, it's a transparent box. It's got a lid that goes on the front of it here. Hand me that lid.
There you go, sir.
And this is what we would call a still air box. So the intention of this is giving you a clean workspace when you're doing any sort of transfer of mushroom materials, either spores or brain
No more
spawn
magic
or
tents.
any of your mushrooms.
What's that?
No more
The
tents.
idea is
Tents? Yeah.
particles fall downward, whether it's
There's a pretty
pollen
good
or
tents,
mold
actually. They're
or
called
different
like
things that are in our
market
environment.
and
And this
like,
kind of closes off your workspace.
Yeah, it's like this
and you
big
can put
plastic
your hands in here
and
and have a relatively clean workspace. It's not
like,
100% sterile like a
yeah,
blow
humidity
or
into
other
it and just
high-dollar
keep it at like
equipment would be.
90%, and
But
it's like
for
like
most
brooding
mushrooms,
chamber.
this
I'd love to get one.
Right on,
give
brother.
you a clean
My mom had a
workspace.
couple.
Right on.
I
Thank
could
you.
build one.
That's what
I've
was-
built one before, but
I didn't
Man,
use them for
hey,
mushroom.
man, Chad, I
Yeah.
gotta tell you, man, one of the first things that hit me was how dope the logo is.
some
Like,
weed.
how cool is the packaging from this company,
grow
man?
it back
That's
there,
also
Yeah.
first thing I noticed.
Backyard.
Is even across the top
Out in the sun,
has
natural
the
UV.
spore print design on it.
Yeah, I've done
The
both myself.
packaging
I
is
like.
really cool logo.
I prefer growing
Mine
indoors, so it's a
is
little more
a
controlled.
play.
That's what I heard.
Shall we go ahead and
Let's
cut
go
it
Pardon.
for
open?
it, brother.
All
Let's
right,
go for it.
let's do it. I have no idea what we're looking at in here.
Isn't that the joy to it, folks?
Yeah.
No idea.
Cut this across here. Again, very cool packaging, solid.
Should have
solid
brought you a
box.
shirt.
You should have,
I
man.
got it.
All right. what do we
Mine
got
shirt
here?
shirt.
So,
I'm gonna have to
order you one.
Yeah,
We're late on some of our deliveries.
I'll bring you one. I got one just laying at the house. I was
there.
totally was meant to grab it and I forgot.
Like
For
we've
sure.
got
Yeah.
some,
XL, bro.
Latex gloves, some rubber gloves.
I love our
Everything
logo.
nice
Like the
and
logo
clean
itself
while
is
you're
just
on your
dope.
mushrooms.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
I love the colors.
Looks like you got some cocoa core, which is something that we all use in gardening quite a bit. There's a nice little wafer. Probably will hydrate perfectly to fit those boxes that
Right
we
on, sir.
pulled out earlier. Light bulb. Not sure where that goes yet.
Yeah, it's a
I have an
pretty
idea.
it's a pretty basic kit.
Little bottle.
and
so
most
that
kits
would be
are.
ideal.
The reason we created
mushrooms
mushrooms is because there's so much information on them, right? Like when I first started growing mushrooms, there was
things like that. So that may be
all these
the-
different
that.
techniques,
Find out.
all
Probably
these
says so
different
in the instruction
mediums
There
that
we
you
go.
can grow with, all
guide.
these
We've got a
different
couple of
grains,
jars
all this
here,
different,
looks like, that are,
all this different stuff, and really it like
bubble-wrapped
all
together
got
for
jumbled
safety and,
together.
never
You know what I'm
connected
saying? And
to
you
your-
really didn't know what to put together.
Yeah.
Like do this with this and this, and you'll do this, and it's like okay, like
Where I open the jar,
we instead
find out
of
what
you
that is.
going through the painful process of learning how to do this for a year
Hygrometer,
and then
barometer,
starting to
so
get a
we
grasp
have
on it,
temperature and
like we
humidity
have
levels.
everything
So that's,
right here,
important
one-stop
when
shop,
growing your
and
grow environment
and
or
you have one
humidity
technique,
especially.
and this is like a very basic technique, a very
It's like, great for holding
a
moisture.
good technique. You know what I'm saying? It's like solid. You can grow mushrooms with this every
I bet
time.
it
It's
is.
just a matter of
I'm
staying
betting
clean
this is,
and
sterilized
staying,
grain.
like sterile in your environment.
We'll go over some spotting, of that because
Oh, there you go.
I've seen it where you see it funky or you see the symptoms, but I don't know exactly what they are, or how is it that you spot them? Because I'm aware of that they're just not there or they're not working or something happens, but something's going on with the mushroom. Or either you get
Therapy for me, I think when the pandemic happened,
Yeah.
when COVID hit, I had a lot of time to myself. And I have been going and going and going for so long
That's a
that
nice commercial.
I hadn't really taken.
While Chad's doing it, I just wanted to say real quick, what we're doing in Tucson is we're trying to keep this as eco-friendly and as clean as possible. Chad has been a pioneer at this for years and years and years. He's probably forgotten more stuff about environmental care than I have learned. All right, so he's really the guy out here. And when I met the folks from Mindshroom, it automatically clicked in that we're all on the same goal, and we're all on the same path. We're trying to provide a healthier alternative to what we're getting from the stores.
And obviously
to
that's
take
all
better care of
plastic and
ourselves,
stuff,
not just
but it's
ourselves, but
reusable.
better
Like,
care of
you
our
can
communities
use
in the
that
same process.
over and over.
So
and over
make sure you
again.
check them out
Okay.
on Mindshroom.
But it is all organic. Like you don't have to worry. Like
So what we've
that's the
got
great thing
here
about it,
are
right? Like
these
you
jars
know
that
where
I've
your
been
shit's coming
unwrapping.
from.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Is,
saying? Like you don't have to worry about eating something that
jars. And you can see here
has
there's
crossed
little
hands 10
rubber
times before
ports
you
on the
thought.
top there. And this little tape has what's called microfilm tape. So it's actually to allow the grain and the mushrooms to breathe without letting anything into the environment. So that micropore tape there on the top will allow oxygen and other gases to exchange without allowing contaminants to enter.
We got another one, man.
This is a fourth jar, so we'll have to see what the
Yeah.
colors mean. They may already be inoculated. I don't
They are not.
See any cerebrals in here, so you might
Does that
want to
mean it's
read
been
on
boiled
here.
or what?
That would read the
No, like so
instruction manual
inoculated
that
just means
they
like
included to find out
you actually put
what
spores
pink is.
into
Oh.
that. So what he's
Oh.
opening right there
Pink
is
and
grain
green
that has been
includes,
sterilized in a
that'll
pressure
probably tell
cooker
us
or
what
like an
what
autoclave.
strain, whether it's
And
pink oyster mushroom,
it's kind of what you do in
blue
like you
oyster
can
mushroom,
foods.
lime
You know, if you want to
Yeah.
store foods for a long time, you have to boil them at a high enough heat that it kills off all the bacteria.
And these
And
here
that's what
are
you're doing
little
right there
alcohol
is you're
swabs.
doing
So
that,
like I
and then
mentioned
you
before,
inject the
rubbing
spores in there,
alcohol
and then they have a
is
clean
a
environment to
important step
proliferate,
with
right?
those
So like
alcohol swabs.
they don't.
You can clean your hands down, you can clean the surface of
Because
your
if you do have
and the
any
surface
you know
of
other
your
mold
sealed
or
air
anything in
box.
there, it's going to overtake the mycelium.
And I believe that is all. Little coupon card in there as well. So that's super cool. So yeah, we've got our vermiculite, which will maintain moisture in our environment. Once that's soaked and hydrated, that's a good way to maintain moisture. And then we've got our grain jars here.
That's
So,
cool, though.
Chad, in regards to mind shrooms in a package,
All right,
and
we're
they,
gonna cut
also-
that video there.
You know, other than unless
Alrighty, and we're back. So
Explain a little bit more, brother, of what the reason why was you made it, because of the sanitary purpose and as well to put out more knowledge so that people are
aware to how to actually grow it.
Yeah. So the reason we made mind shrooms is to make it easy. Basically, make it. There's a learning curve, right?
Yeah.
It's like I learned from scratch, like by basically just researching online, going through forums, going onto YouTube, watching videos. But it was hard for me personally to like piece it all together and like what worked with what. Mm-hmm. So if I would have had a kit like this, I probably would have saved myself a year's worth of like trial and error. You know, I'm not saying that the trial and error isn't bad. It made me a great grower. But you can be on the same level I'm at with a proper kit like this in just a very short amount of time. So we put it all together and yeah, it's like, so we do a lot of the hard part for you. Like we sterilize that grain, we sterilize the food source for the mushroom. And you can do this again, it's more for ease. You could do this, but you'd probably go out and spend $100 on a pressure cooker, or $300 on an autoclave if you want to do like bulk mushrooms. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's just for that process. Plus, you need jars, you need the grain, you need the cocoa coir, you need some spores, you need the jars with the injection ports. You need to buy your spores. So it's like, you know, there's a lot of pieces.
And the spores, do you get them online or do you?
Yeah, so you can buy spores online. Spores can be sold by themselves for microscopy, basically. That's kind of like the loophole with it. I couldn't sell you psilocybin spores with my kit because then you would have the intent to be growing them. Right? Yeah. So that would make them illegal. So like we're playing in the gray area as far as like the kits go. Everything that we sell is absolutely legal. You're basically taking the risk.
But now it's essentially you can potentially use this kit as a homegrown kit for any type of mushroom. It doesn't have to be a psychedelic as well.
It doesn't, and it can be for other mushrooms. I've grown lion's mane mushrooms with my kit. I've grown oysters with my kit. So yeah, you can definitely grow medicinal and gourmet mushrooms with it for sure.
So essentially, there's no gray lining. The way I see it, because it's all,
I guess I'm just being kind of upfront about it. Like we're selling to like
you're gonna use this to grow psilocybin.
Yeah, we're selling to the magic farmer. You know what I'm saying? But there, if you wanted to grow other stuff, you definitely could. Like,
and that's what makes it cool because it's a kit for all type of cultivation within the fungi, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Bro, that's very unique, and to me, it's like we all. the people that I'm trying to bring onto the podcast have some type of cultivation and creativity with some type of natural source, whether it be music, whether it be some type of entrepreneurship, or exactly like yourself with the hard vegetables or the hard medicinal herbs as well. So like all of that combined with religious practice and beliefs, I believe you said you were a very predominant atheist until recently, right? What was that religion that, or that practice that you are currently withheld in, and you're like, oh, I'm no longer an atheist because I have this belief? Or is it just that you have a belief of not having a belief, which is still considered you and not an atheist?
That's a great question, and that's a question that I've been like kind of grappling with myself over the last like year or so. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's like we say the word spiritual, like it's thrown around a lot, like every day now, all the time it seems. And it's like, I'm trying to figure out if I am actually spiritual or not, if like what that is, because it's like, I wouldn't even say like, I'm not going to say that I went from being an atheist to being like, oh, there's a God now. You know what I'm saying? I still have a lot of, the basis of my belief is that like I don't see God as like a bearded man in the sky. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not running towards Christianity or Catholicism. Like I still kind of abhor those kind of religions a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I don't abhor them, but like they just don't make sense to me. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's not like easily broken down, but it's not like simplistic. It can be thought of in a very profound way, but to me, like God would be something that is so much more beautiful.
And this is the thing, brother,
you know
that with the scriptures or the things that practice is in cult, a parable can be translated in a lot of forms.
Yeah, it can be.
So the psychology behind the tonality or the way that a person is speaking, and that's what we need to become informed on.
Yeah,
like there's backstories to make it logical, because everything has some type of logic. So what is the motive, or what is the intention between the pilgrim and the preacher? So what is the connection between both of them? What is the motive within the preacher? Is it just because he needs a number? Is it because he needs some type of sense? But a parable can be interpreted in various ways, whether it be good or bad.
It's just weird, like, to me sometimes. I just feel like
and that's why I've drawn myself to more towards energy, bro, because like if I feel uncomfortable in the beginning, I know it's going to be a good person. But if I feel so comfortable with this person, I have to be on my feet, where it's like a good person is going to make me feel uneasy at the beginning, because like this is a new grounding energy that I've never felt. And if it's something that's static, that you kind of get that rhythm of this person's fake, like, or they're just putting the front, they're going through something, that you feel that vibration. And that's what I feel like I've gotten drawn more to with my practice. Like it's like a sixth sense now. Like okay, like it's like I'm feeling still uncomfortable at this point.
Okay, so like you talked about, it's Yoruba, right?
Yoruba.
Yeah. So that's a part of this question, right? Like to me is like you have a specific thing, right? And I don't. I'll say that I don't have a specific thing, but I feel like I am almost in search of that specific thing, because.
And we'll call my madrina right now on the line.
Yeah, that'd be dope. Yeah, I would love that. Yeah. But I don't. But I'm okay with that right now, because it's like I just came out of this kind of like gray hole of atheism that kind of drug me down a little bit. At first it woke me up, it opened me up, and I'm grateful for it. But in the end, it kind of took me down like a very like bland, like gray path that I didn't like, and I'm coming out of that right now. And I'm okay, and I'm searching, right? I'm searching for something. And I really like Taoism. I really like Taoism. You know what I'm saying? Like the teachings and the thought behind it. The book, The Kybalion, Hermetic Philosophy. Super, I resonate with that on an extreme level, right? Because that book, it talks about the 7 principles of Hermetic philosophy. And the very first one is that the all is mind. The universe is mental, right? And the way I took that is that we are God's mind. God's mind is the universe. God's mind, when God thinks something, it becomes actual. And somewhere in the universe, it's becoming a thing. And there may be infinite and multiple universes all around us, right? So, and we as humans on this earth are an aspect of God's mind. We are here. And as far as we know, we are the only ones that have consciousness in the sense that humans do, right?
We all have our translation of what we call God, and
Exactly.
how he says God to him is it's almost like a source,
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
Power.
I'm saying God because it's more, people can resonate.
Yeah,
with
it's
God,
more
but
malleable.
For me, I do call it source. I do call it an energy. I do call it a field.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And I do feel connected to that field. But what I'm saying is like we are a conscious being. We are conscious beings that, in a sense, we are God recognizing itself. We are the universe recognizing itself, because we are actually able to look into the stars and look into farther galaxies with telescopes and do science and look down into microbes through microscopes, and we are able to kind of get all this data, and we are learning ourselves.
Now, once we say God, this is another thing to put out, because a lot of people have a sense of like a high pedestal, and it's almost like a humbling sense when you figure it out. And I'm not saying that I have, because I have nothing that I have learned that I can say that is mine. Knowledge is just wisdom that we all carry. But it's like a transparent. I lost my train of thought there, bro. What were we talking about? What have you said?
No, yeah. So all I'm really saying, like all I'm really getting to is like, as it is that all is mind, the God is a mind, and we are conscious of that, and we are learning ourselves. Then spirituality to me is a form of learning about yourself, is learning who you are, and on a deep level, becoming self-aware, learning about your blind spots and the things that you want, the things that you are actually not aware of, that are kind of bringing you down, or you know what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? It's like a deeper knowing
sense
about yourself. And to me, that
it's like the coming of the awareness, right?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt there, bro.
No, yeah.
It's the coming of awareness where the conscious becomes conscious of what it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But until you take the conscious effect of change, then that becomes the transition, or what a lot of religions call a transformation,
Right,
or a renacimiento, or reincarnation. A lot of religions take it into the physical sense, or where the mind actually has a sense of translating these things as a renovation, like baptism, like the initiation of any sadhana with any yoga, and like the initiation with santeria or any type of traditional cult. There are processes that sense with, like you're saying, like what you're studying, psychology. It's a sense of psychology where it triggers your mind to go into a state of being.
Yeah.
It's not saying that the effort person, it's going to be the same, or everybody's going to have the same experience. We might have a more what this generation or what this world calls as spiritual, but it might be a higher sense of just connection between our ancestors and what they carried in knowledge. And that's what I feel. Sorry about that. That's what they carried in field to teach us, and that's why I have high respect for an elder, or with any religion, whether if I'm a year smaller than you, or you're 10 years younger than me. If you are a higher elder where you have some sense of knowledge, I will show my respect regardless of the person. But it seems to be like it's like something that they are brought to give, like whether if you're a pastor or whether you're not, and my son ever becomes, or my daughter ever becomes that, I will give them the grant of passage, because I have nobody to say anything in their lives.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, and ultimately, like I agree with that, and I just feel like the way my mind works, and the way I perceive things, is that I see us all as part of this naturalistic way of being. Like when you look at Buddhism and like Hinduism, and like the lotus flower, and it's like you see these psychedelic images, and psychedelics are a super huge part of my belief system because they've given me mystical experiences that I'll never forget. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like this lotus flower that's infinitely unfolding. We're always unfolding. Like there is no endpoint. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no destination. And if there is, it's death. You know what I'm saying? And it's just going to take us into a cycle, just like nature. You know, it's like it's infinite. Everything is infinite. And you see that in a lot of different places, not just in Hinduism and Buddhism, but you see that in like Aztec and Mayan culture. You know what I'm saying? Like you see the fractals. You know what I'm saying? Like fractals is in everything. You know, they even say like fractals are calming to humans. That's why when we go into cities, like when we're in big cities and we're surrounded by these big buildings that are just kind of like, you know, square, and there's room. It's just floors of rooms. Like it's just bland to us, and that's why we get depression. And you know what I'm saying? Like there's always this noise, like this background hum of cars and people talking, and you know what I'm saying? But when you get out into nature, you have the fractals, you have the branches breaking off, you have the root systems that look like our lungs. You know what I'm saying? Like it's nature, and when we get out into nature, we actually become less depressed. You know what I'm saying? When we hear the birds chirping, not the sounds of cars passing. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what that Santeria brought me to, bro. Like everything we did was a process to nature. We have to, you know, do the process of the initiation, the process of cleansing.
Yeah.
And then after we cleanse, it's like I can break it down, and it's not degrading the religion or the practice.
Yeah.
Where you have to go through a sense of self-cleanse. Whether you don't practice sexuality for 3 days, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's a sense of reverence to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a abstinence to oneself. Not saying that you have to be abstinent for the rest of your life, but prior to doing this initiation or anything with the religion, as it is, or they call it religion, but they call it a practice. Mm-hmm. It seems to be because of the purity or the sense of purity that one has in their psychological self. That's the lizards.
Is it? Oh, okay. Oh, you had a ghost.
There's a couple in here. I can sense them. Yeah, man. So each step, per se, like you were coming to me, you said, I feel like my wife did something to me because I feel it. Like there's some dark spirit following me. There would be an investigation where you come to my madrina, and then she reads you the shells, you know, and when she reads you the shells, then after the interrogation, they will let her know, you know, through the investigation, what is actually going on. Sometimes it's nothing. It's all in our heads. But within that reading, let's say you say that you feel hard headaches and that you can't sleep, that you feel somebody scratching at your neck. Mm-hmm. And then she goes to the point where she takes you to the river, and then she tells you, look in the river, you know, what do you see? Do you see anything behind you? And she just makes your mind work. And it's almost like a psychological process, like you're saying, like you have to do certain techniques or certain practices to start from base one to go to the first, you know, where we start to the past regression or the actual trauma or how to intercept it. It's almost the same theory, because you're taking this person out to nature to understand their visual senses, their sensations, their knowing of sense within nature, as I like to say it, you know. And she would take me to water a lot, as the reading would say, because water was some type of purification.
It is.
And it was like, I would go to give to Oshun, and Oshun was always there for me, and she was like the representation of sexuality, the representation of honey, of gold, oranges. She's just some type of purity. She has a sister called Yemaya, which is the queen of the ocean, or which is the queen of the cemetery. And all these deities have some type of sense of grounding to whatever person needs that help at what sense. I had a reading prior to me being booked into jail by Ogun, that said that I was going to be booked. In a sense, I feel like that was not it wasn't a trap, but it was like a psychological sense that it was instilled into me so that I would go, because it was something that I was so powerful and connected with the theory of it happening, that it happened because my projection was already there, because the things that she had instilled in me, I don't know if it's some type of psychological sense, like you're saying, like they have the ability to type of hypnosis or put you into a state of mind. Obviously it's the healing, like shamans, they put you into that holding your space and actually sharing that experience with you, and you feel that type of vibration when it happens, or that closure. That wasn't a ghost. So I feel that sense, like with Santeria, bro, where it's like you are drawn back to nature, you are drawn back to your finding your senses, who you are and what you feel. And then the weirdest part, bro, is that when she left, my madrina had some issues going on with her son, and she had to leave, and it was all spontaneous. She left, and she told me, you know what, you need to come and pick up some stuff from my house. And I was like, okay, cool. I was like, probably some coconuts or some flowers that she's giving me, because she would always give me these things to do. So it was like, okay, I'm gonna go pick it up. And I get there, and she's like, oh, I'm leaving. I was like, oh, what? What do you mean? Where are you leaving? She's like, I have to go. If you can come and pick up the rest tomorrow. She's like, there's a couple boxes in the house I need you to pick up. And when I go into the house, her entire bedroom is there, her furniture, her everything.
Yeah.
It was just intact, like she had just gone out to the store.
Yeah.
So I was like, what's going on? And she calls me the next day after she had left. She's like, I need you to take all my stuff and put it in your garage and do something with it. And it was all her saints. So she left me her santos. She left me all her religion, her practice, her ogun, her everything. And it was just like, to me, it was like shit. Like it felt like my mom had died. Like that's how it felt.
Yeah.
And it was like spontaneous, because I would talk to her after, and she's like, I can't talk for much. And she was going with some issues, and she was being manipulated by her son. So her son did some horrible things to her, and in that sense, she came back and things happened. But after the time that she left, there was a couple of not a practice. It was more of a we did a closure, and then we did it in a ceremony, or a closing ceremony. And those are the things I can share. But when we did that ceremony, there was a lot of things that were brought out to light within myself about what I needed to fix, about where I needed to go. And I found myself going back to the river, and I found energies there, like not in this realm, or maybe in this realm, that helped me progress. Like the river was like some type of connection where she left something for me. Like, I don't know if it was just the deity in the sense that she was helping me there, but I felt some type of healing there. And every time I would go back there, it was like I was learning something, Yeah. And to this day, there's only a couple hands of people that I share that location to, where like it's like still some sacred spot to me, where like I go back and it's like, this is where I started. This is the falling grounds or the battlefield. And you look at everything, it's like shit. Like I did it. Like it's still there, but you still got to come back and continue to heal. But it's just like it's a good totem to take from that. But like you were saying, bro, nature, it's always there. It's always been. And I always, pledge it to people, or tell people, go to nature, take some hikes, go out walking out of your house, just walk to Walmart, walk to, I don't know, just walk. Yeah. And as long as you move that body, bro, I feel like air hitting you in the face, the trees just moving, the birds flying by, whether you're in the city or anywhere, it just helps to move.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry if I went off on a tangent there.
No, please do. Love it.
Bro, why did you choose entrepreneurship within Mindshrooms, or why did you go to that level to say, hey, we need to take this to the public? Or what was the idea that sparked it, where it was like, shit, we're going to do it because we're going to do it because I know this is going to have some impact in the future or the long run?
Yeah. Well, obviously, like, unless you're not paying attention, like if you're into psychedelics, you're noticing that there is a psychedelic like renaissance going on right now.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like
a collective, I believe,
Yeah, it's like what you would think of like from the 70s and the 60s, you know what I'm saying? But it's like revamped, you know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, we went through that, and now like we kind of fucked it up. back then. You know what I'm saying? Like you have people like Timothy Leary who are just like tune in, turn in, and drop out. You know, like it was like this counterculture thing, and it was like, you know, fuck the establishment. It was like this real. It was like, you know, free love, and of course the government didn't want that shit. They didn't want people expanding their consciousness and stuff like that, you know, but like we were so overt about it, like outward about it, that it just kind of got shut down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot, I from what I've read, there's a lot of things that happen that have kind of set psychedelics back a very long way because of the way we approached it. But now we're a little bit smarter, and now we have people like Rick Doblin and like MAPS, that whole organization that is going about it the right way. So now we're starting to see psychedelics as we saw marijuana and cannabis over the years come up, like medicinally. Like that's how you get legalization, is you go the medicinal route. And we're starting to see that, yes, psychedelics are medicinal. They are therapeutic, even more than we've ever thought they could be. You know, they're treating PTSD, they're treating addiction, they're treating all kinds of things. You know what I'm saying? So that was a little bit of the motivation for us to do this, because we're like, it's like you want to catch trends, right? Like you want to catch trends before they're trends. You know what I'm saying? And like we very much felt like we were on the early starting points of what is to come.
In other words, to my
we
creatives, you know, it's like
Yeah.
he was catching his creativity, or he was putting his
Yeah.
creativity out. Because like how you said it, like it's catching a trend.
Yeah.
It's like you're setting yourself, you're putting yourself down in the sense in the way I see it, because it's like your creativity is so expansive to compare it to anything else.
Yeah.
Because what comes out of your mind can be so pure.
Yeah.
And I felt myself in that point where I'm like looking up shit on Pinterest or on YouTube, like I want a good shot. Like what is the good aperture? What's the good ISO? Or what do I need to mimic?
Yeah.
When I freelance and I'm just like, I'm going to do it how I want to, and I'm going to tweak it up how I like it. That's when my work shows.
Right.
But if I'm copying or if I'm mimicking the trend or something, like you said, because it's already a trend,
Yeah.
I need to have that creativity to put it out.
And it's not like we're not like by no means mimicking, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, because you
like,
started it pretty much.
This is this is something that we were passionate about, like we've been passionate about, and now we're seeing that it's gaining traction in the mainstream, which is also a little bit of kind of like a push and pull, like a butting heads of, how do I say it? I don't know. It's like, it's weird because mushrooms are sacred, right?
Yeah.
Like they're medicines, they are sacred. And it was kind of like, it's kind of like you're supposed to give people mushrooms. You know what I'm saying? Like you can use them as a monetary source. People sell mushrooms and stuff, and people take mushrooms recreationally, but like when you hold them sacred, and they're special, it's like, yes, you want a bunch of people to experience them and to have them, but it almost feels sacrilegious to like sell.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it almost feels, it almost goes against my like morals and ethics to like want to sell mushrooms.
And
You know what
that
I'm
goes
saying?
to a second thought to the people or the folks who believe this, like where if you have a sense of putting something monetary, doesn't necessarily make it sadistic. And that's where duality comes into play. Like
exactly.
if you have that dual perspective of saying, like, just because you have a monetary sense to it, I have animals, I have to feed them. How the fuck am I going to feed them? Well,
Exactly.
I have to sell second thing to what my admiration is. And unfortunately, my passion has become something of my public sense. Well, why I say unfortunately, because I've never wanted to put any monetary sense to what I love.
Right.
But it just developed.
Yeah.
I've never pushed it to sell anybody, because it's like, if you see my joy, if you see my passion, if you see what I can do with these animals by just working and putting that flow,
yeah,
maybe you have an interest.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you don't, by all means, I'm okay.
Well,
because
it's kind of like what we talked about when you were on my podcast, right? It's like, instead of like going out and trying to conquer, we're trying to build our web and bring people to us, and like the people who really resonate with us will come to us, and if they believe in what we're doing and you know, the price doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not, it essentially, it doesn't become about money. It becomes about the mission. You know
Honestly,
what I'm
bro,
saying?
I've enjoyed this right now.
Yeah.
And I find myself in days, like within the past year, where I barely started shipping and I had issues, or I had animals that had delays and just customer issues where I had to recompense. And if people don't know it, if you buy anything above $800 with us, you get $100 back from the referral if somebody refers.
Yeah.
$200 back if it's $1,500 and above. So if I would have issues, I would be out for food's work of a week. So I had to hustle it out, either sell something or go sell my blood or do something crazy to get on my feet. Or go do Uber, whatever. But it was like I found myself in a rut where I was just going back and back and back until I set forward my routine where I was like, shit, I'm going to do this on a daily, because if I don't, I'm not going to succeed in what I want to do. And once I started putting out my work and showing it and marketing it more, I had more traction, because it was just me showing off my animals. Nobody was being sold anything. Nobody was being told, hey, buy this animal right now. Here's the price. No. It was like, you have to reach out to me if you feel that sense.
Yeah.
Almost like something spiritual, like a connection.
Absolutely.
Because these animals, they honestly require a lot of thinking, where it's like, I'm not saying that anybody can keep them, but what the thing is putting that work in. You have to read the previous husbandry from other keepers. What area do you live in? What are the specific temperatures that you have to have on your thermostats? Like, it's not something that everybody is used to, but they can be. You know, it's repetition, like anything. You just got to work the muscle. But if you can keep something like this, you know, in your home, it can make you happy and make his life happy by him not being out in nature. If you have a wild caught, or if you have something that was produced, which is something that I recommend, just always get captive bred if you can.
Yeah.
You know, it's logical. Why are you going to take something out of nature when you can continue to have something that's been produced already?
Yeah.
The genetics are strong. There's no parasitical problems.
Yeah.
You know, it's just second sense.
Yep.
Don't go to PetSmart.
Same thing with mushrooms. Yeah.
Don't
like,
go to
you can
PetSmart.
isolate genetics. Like, you isolate genetics, and like, yeah, you get you.
Can you make mutations?
You can. It's pretty tough. You have to be pretty knowledgeable. I couldn't do it right now. I can grow, but I'm not at the level of crossing genetics yet. Okay. You know. Yeah.
What is the process of that? Is it just a spore release, or what is it? What is the timing that you
start? What, just growing or just crossing?
Crossing.
Honestly, that's not even my scope. Yeah. Like, I've heard people talking about it and they've done it. But essentially, I think it has more to do with spores, and combining spores and then it proliferating from that point. But yeah, I couldn't even speak on that. But what I do want to kind of go back to was what you're just saying there. And what it really comes down to is, you know, just like for me, it's ultimately why I love the Mind Shrooms business, but I have chosen to go back to school and further my knowledge and become a therapist or a clinical, you know, psychologist, and go into psychedelic therapy, because ultimately I find that I would be much more fulfilled knowing that I'm still in that realm, that industry, but I'm helping people. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like I'm helping people by selling kits and having them be able to grow their own medicine. That is helping, but I want to be like hands-on. Like I want everybody to know the true power and the true like blessings of these psychedelics. You know what I'm saying? And like experience it firsthand. And like I think that's what's drawing me towards that realm rather than just the kind of grow kit business. You know, I'm having this stronger tug towards that. You know.
Yeah. And I love the way that you promote it, brother, because the more that you put the sense of it being something to be honored or something to be revered, the more sense that people think like this shouldn't be something that I take on a daily, or should it be abused? You know, because the moment that you abuse anything, I believe it does become sacrilegious to a sense.
Yeah, it's like recreational. Like honestly, and I'm not putting this down, right? But like, you offered me bud, like you offered me some smoke, and I told you I'm kind of like cleansing from it, and I've been smoking cannabis pot since I was 13 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like for damn near like 25 years, 3 years now, and it hits me a little bit different. So I have backed off quite a bit, but it's not because I don't want to smoke it. It's because I'm trying to reestablish my relationship with Mary Jane. Like I really am. Like I'm trying to use even cannabis in more of a ceremonial aspect.
Really?
Like I'm trying to do less with recreational.
This is a ceremony.
Yeah. No, it totally is. It totally is. But you know what I'm saying? Like even I came up like that. Even with mushrooms, I completely abused mushrooms before. I've completely abused DMT before. You know what I'm saying? And these are all like very sacred molecules that we should not be doing, that we should not be like desecrating. You know what I'm saying? And like I'm just me personally, I'm trying to get on a more ceremonial level with all of these things and use them as tools for growth rather than party drugs.
So something that I like to question, and this comes to somebody that looks towards knowledge in the past, right? As history has taught us a lot,
Yeah.
but as well within culture and what's been taught by our elders. So if it's considered sacrilegious, going thousands of years previous to where there was no sense of consciousness and people would stumble upon these things, in some way consciousness became acquired through that. Maybe it might have been a way of acquiring consciousness or the Holy Grail. Was it still considered sacrilegious?
Sacrilegious. I don't know if I'm getting your question, but
Like if it weren't any sense of ceremonial process and this plant had already existed, what would be your type of sense thinking? Like, what if somebody just stumbled upon this and just ingested?
No, okay, I get what you're saying now. Yeah, well, of course it wouldn't. You know, I think it took those people, like the first people to stumble upon it, and we could even go into like stoned ape theory, like this is how we gain consciousness.
That's what I was like saying. Like,
yeah,
maybe,
for sure.
Maybe you're not.
Yeah, but I think it's also like in our brain's nature to kind of like like use these substances. You know what I'm saying? It's not sacrilegious until you deem it sacred. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't deemed sacred up until a certain point, until we like kind of had society and those things. You know,
I mean, but what is sacred at the same time? And we can't really put a sense to that terminology.
Yeah, well, you can until you have a really mystical experience. Then you feel like you met God, and then you're like, okay, that's important.
Yeah.
And then it's just like no, it's not just mead.
It's
not just like liquor, like I'm getting shit faced. It's I just met God, and then now it's sacred to me. You know what I'm saying? And like these things, like I don't know. Like I said, they can be abused. They can still be abused, but
I think that's more of a sense that I'd like to portray, rather of it being unsacred or not. Yeah. If you're in a good two of mind and you say, I have a setting, I'm not partying, I have a setting where I'm doing something productive with this and having a good vibe going on, because it's all about setting, I believe, with mushrooms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or any type of psychedelic. Then at that point, that's not sacrilegious. Or what you might consider the term of sacrilegious. I consider it more as if
I feel like I said sacrilegious out of term.
No, it's because it's my.
I was like, did I say it?
But I just want them to portray that as well, because there's different perspectives as well out there.
Okay, good.
There might be one that it's stupid as.
I didn't know if I just spoke or something, but no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So like, then at that point, it's something that we just should honor and use it as medicinal. Like if you're taking ibuprofen, I'm not saying that ibuprofen is good. But if you're taking something that's prescribed, it's the same thing. It's something that should be prescribed. You should take in a setting. You shouldn't be fucking driving. You should just be relaxing and taking it in nature, whether what setting you're being, as long as it's a good holding your moment and you're trying to do something productive with it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, okay, this brings me into another thing, right? So I've been I've been really deeply thinking about how to be on the totally opposite end of the spectrum. Yeah, I've been really thinking about how one would use a mushroom for a recreational purpose, but not in the aspect of like just going and partying, right?
Microdosing.
So yes, there's microdosing, and then there's macrodosing, right? So you have microdosing.
What is the difference?
So microdosing is going to be is considered a subperceptual dose, where you take an amount but you don't have any psychoactive effects. Excuse me. But you're going to experience a little bit of clarity of mind. Maybe colors are a little bit brighter too. And this is typically what happens to me. You have a little bit of an uplifted mood, but you're not seeing streams like your hands are not looking all crazy. You're not tripping out. You can go and function in everyday life, but it's a subperceptual dose that typically is about 1/10 of a gram or less. I've found that my sweet spot is about 0.08 grams for a microdose. That gets me, it gives me energy. I am able to form thoughts pretty coherently, pretty quickly. It's almost like a nootropic when you take it in that sense. And you can actually have intentions with it, just like I would want anybody to have an intention, even if they took a macro dose. But even when you're taking a microdose, you want to have an intention as to why you're taking it. Do you want to be more productive at work? Do you want to be more creative? Do you want to, whatever it is, you can have a mission with it. You know what I'm saying? And this and these, they don't give you the superpower to do it, but they kind of like will give you a spark and be like, oh, this is what I need to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's the microdose, and then the macrodose is a large dose where you're basically in the spirit world. You know what I'm saying? You're tripping. But what I'm talking about is that middle ground where it's like a 0.5 gram, or maybe it's like a 1.5 grams, where, a 1.5 grams for someone who's never taken mushrooms will probably send you into a trip, depending on your chemical makeup. But like in the 0.5 gram to 1 gram range, I've been at home, right? I've been at work. I came home from work one day, super bad mood, like just feeling really weird. I remember I took a 0.5 gram of mushrooms, and it was like a Friday, and I was just hanging out with my family. And it was one of the most profound experiences ever, even off of 0.5 gram of mushroom, because my heart just kind of opened up. My mind kind of settled down. I calmed down. And what happened was, like, normally, like, say I wouldn't have taken this mushroom, I would have been maybe cranky. I'd have been like, maybe my kids might have annoyed me a little bit, or I would have just wanted to like zone out on TV or drink like some beer or something. You know what I'm saying? I completely opened up, and it ended up becoming like my kids felt my energy, and they like came into the room, and they were being funny and silly, and like my wife came and sat down next to me. You know what I'm saying? And we were listening to music on the TV and just kind of just being, right? We were just there, like having a really great time. And I wasn't tripping, but I had a body buzz. I felt really good, but I forgot about all those issues and problems. Like I left those at the door. You know what I'm saying? And it got me really thinking about how we can use mushrooms as just something that can kind of enhance our day-to-day lives. You know what I'm saying? Like if we allow them to open up, it could be something like a marijuana, like cannabis, you know what I'm saying? To like take the edge off at the end of the day. I think you may have to gain a little bit of experience with the mushroom to do this, but it's very possible. And I think there's a realm that there's a space for recreational use of mushrooms, but we have to be in touch with ourselves, and we have to be kind of knowledgeable and have expectations, and have we have to know what we want to do with them, if that makes sense.
Purpose.
Yeah, but it's weird. To me, it feels like that is a space that hasn't really been touched upon.
Yeah, and that's something that you're doing with mind shrooms, right?
Well, that's kind of those thoughts are kind of that's completely separate. I mean, obviously mind shrooms we want it to be in every home. You know what I'm saying? We want anybody who wants to do it to be able to grow mushrooms, to be able to do it. But that, for me, that aspect, what I just spoke on, is more of like in my mind, it's like a manual. It's like a book. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a guide. It's like it's almost like a how-to. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I feel like there's a project there that I think once mushrooms are a little bit more mainstream and they're a little bit more, people have much more experience with them, this would be something that a topic that we can actually like extrapolate on. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like it's one of those things. It's like a trend. It's like, I feel like this is ahead of the game. So it's like, I don't think people are ready for it yet, but it's like, how can we use mushrooms in our everyday life?
So you're like the Apple stage, in the garage right now.
Yeah.
With that brand new idea. And that's what I loved about your idea, man. I've gotten things pitched at me, like this new invention or this insurance product, will change your life, stuff like that. You can get the sense, but you actually see things that actually have you done research on, and you're like, well, there's nothing out there that close to next to this,
Yeah.
So, and with the customer base as well, and the customer service that you have, like it's something that you can see a future in and evolution coming from it within the time frame, with laws and everything upon. This could have evolved to something even more beautiful, or maybe it already has.
Yeah, maybe it has. Yeah. Yeah. Even places like Canada. I mean, Canada has had medicinal mushrooms for a very long time, but I just don't know that people are really taking mushrooms seriously. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in a setting with myself with a homie, and we were just chilling and we were tripping, and then I would come in and I'd sit down, I'd feel happy, and then I started tripping on the TV, bad idea, but it was just a lot of connection. And then when I started focusing and looking at the floor, just being with myself in silence, it was just like, oh, like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah. And I also have to state, like, I may be a little bit biased just because I absolutely love mushrooms. You know what I'm saying? Like when that effect hits me, I feel very at home and very at ease. That's not the case for everybody. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't like that.
My stomach just feels like,
not like to be, Well, essentially, you're poisoning yourself. It's a food poisoning. You're eating fungus. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it does make people throw up. It does have this effect. So, like I said, I am a little bit biased because I have a very great effect and I really enjoy it. I don't know if it's my chemical makeup or what, but I really enjoy it. But I think it's like anything. You can get used to things. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not that I want people to get used to it, because there's a very they are very powerful. They're like their own entity, and they will communicate with you if you take too much. You know what I'm saying? Like it feels like they are intellectual beings.
So you say it's like a group of consciousness within?
Yeah, like the mushroom is a god almost.
The reason I ask is because a lot of people say like there's this type of entity to the plant, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's ganja, whether it's peyote, whether it's San Pedro, ayahuasca,
yeah,
they all have some type of sense. It's a feminine or it's a masculine.
You take enough peyote, you're gonna meet Mr. Pedro. Like you are. Like it's crazy.
Bro,
like,
when I took it, it wasn't. I didn't get no sense. I felt sick, but I felt like almost like my grandfather was telling me lessons.
You probably didn't take enough.
Yeah.
That happened to me. Like I took a moderate amount, what I thought was a lot, but it was not as much as I thought. Yeah. So mescaline is it's a tricky one. It's kind of scary.
Really?
Yeah. It's kind of scary because listen, like I drank a jar of tea that I made, and my buddy had recommended that I take like 3 of those after I had already done it. So I thought I took a lot, but in this essence, I really didn't, but I got a crazy feeling. I felt it, but I didn't go there. You know what I'm saying? Peyote buttons. Now that'd be nice to try.
Yeah. Those are, I've never done peyote.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've had some type of sense, the same type of feeling, not the projection or the visuals with meditation,
Mhm.
where I get into that sense.
Oh, yeah.
Not an arousal, but sometimes it is. But it's like a sense of being. I go into a sense like of great emotion, depending on what I'm working on. And if it's like something with my throat or my heart, I feel like I'm always like in a sense of like, I don't feel sad, but it's just like a sense of joy, and tears always tend to fly.
Yeah.
That state.
Like contentment. Yeah.
Like so much happiness. It's just like,
Yeah. I've definitely experienced some good things meditating. You can definitely reach psychedelic states there, for sure.
I felt like I've experienced the same sensations.
Yeah.
With meditation.
Absolutely.
Bro, did you have any particular line of business before Mind Shrooms, or the whole change of Anthony Prolific from Anthony Lopez to Anthony Prolific?
Mm-hmm. No, man, like I've always just felt like a slow starter, to be honest with you. Like I feel like I've constantly like been hopping around from thing to thing, but it's a good thing. Like it's taken me like, it's deductive reasoning, right? Like it's like I've done so many things that I figure out what I don't want to do, instead of like I found what I wanted to do. Like it just has taken me so very long. And even like when you talk about like the spirit animal, right? Like I kind of been thinking about that lately, in preparation for coming here, because it's like the turtle like speaks to me. You know what I'm saying? It's just because it's like
That's the Uruguay.
I feel like I just been taking so damn long. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm just like, it takes a minute. It does take a minute, and it's, for everyone it's different. But I'm getting there. But I don't think there was any one specific thing that kind of, it was just a long, gradual transition. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and I'm just kind of like grateful for, like I've always been like this jack of all trades, it felt like, because I've jumped around so much. But like I'm at the point finally where it's like, all right, this is it. Here's where the mastery comes in. Like this is where I'm pursuing mastery. No longer am I here and here and here and here, because I want to do so many things. You know what I'm saying? Like even in the midst of building a business, like I'm like the movie, I'm like the dog in the movie Up, like where it's like squirrel. You know what I'm saying? It's like that catches my attention and I just want to go do it. You know what I'm saying? Like
I felt that way too in the beginning when I was with I established, and then we established in 2019 our LLC.
Yeah.
And then after that, I felt like I was just marketing. I just felt like I was just doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or I felt myself doing events or doing places I didn't feel comfortable, or I didn't want to do it, but I still put my 100%.
Yeah.
And it was like, I know this is building a foundation somehow.
Yeah.
And I just put in my grit work. But maybe at the long run, if those no's would have been there, it would have helped me in time, and I would have acknowledged certain things, or I would have been like, oh shit, I should have just said no because I wanted to not go.
Yeah.
So it taught me a lot, fucking up.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, you seem like you're dialed in. You know what I'm saying? You like, well, I mean, I guess that's a compliment then. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, yeah, you're getting there. You know where you're at. You know what you're doing, and you know what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I commend that. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of risk having all these animals, all the beautiful animals that you showed me in there. It's a lot of risk, and like that's a big thing that a lot of people don't want to take. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I commend you for that alone. Is like, all right, he's going for it. No matter what it is that you're doing, you're going for it. You know what I'm saying? And that's more than a lot of people can say. You know what I'm saying? Most people are content with just being like, well, I'm just gonna do this, and we're gonna watch the Super Bowl every year at my house, and you know what I'm saying? Like that kind of weirds me out a little bit. Like a lot of people my age, and even like with we're all just kind of like settling. It's like, this is life. And it's like, no, this is not life. This is a weird construct that we've created. And it's like, we can bust out of this shit by like doing, like, we have actually the technology to do whatever the hell we want now. You know what I'm saying? Like we can make our own lives, and you should try to, at the very least, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like leave nothing on the table. Like, this is all you got, you know, go for it. Go for something, you know? Yeah.
Well, she's waking up right there. Look. That's his girlfriend.
Oh, there's two in there. I didn't even see him.
Yeah. He just woke up, bro. They were information.
We're talking about the Tegus.
Oh yeah. Dude, I got the best video today. I gotta show it to you.
Gila monster.
No, I was at the zoo. You were,
Oh,
were
yeah,
you,
we
were
were
you
at the
really
zoo.
at the zoo today?
Bro, look, I'm not playing.
That's so crazy.
My story.
I've never seen this in. What time were you there?
7 hours ago.
What time is it?
7. So around what? 12.
Dude, we were there when you were there. That's crazy.
We went to the park.
Okay, I've never seen. This is like some Animal Planet shit that I've always seen, but it's like, you know, when like birds, they like make a display for like mating and shit, and the male's like trying to be all like extravagant.
Yeah.
Like, look at this fucking guy. Woo! That's
like,
dope.
look at
huh?
me.
Yeah. Like his whole feathers are up,
Look
and
how
he.
beautiful he looks.
Yeah, dude.
Those eyes.
Yeah, dude. He did it for like we were standing there for like 5 minutes, and he was just doing that. It was the coolest shit ever.
I think this last time we went. I don't know why, brother, but it was a good experience. I was just chilling with the family. The girls were acting right, you know. It just felt good.
Yeah.
And we were just roaming around, going back and forth.
It was a beautiful day today too.
It was
like
first sunny day,
70
in, like,
degrees, like beautiful. But yeah, crazy video. He's just trying to hit that.
That's crazy. So we're both there.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy.
So, bro, when did your business journey begin? And go ahead and explain that. I'm gonna go pee real quick.
Yeah. Business journey, shit. I don't know. I've always wanted to be in business, I guess. I've always had like aspirations for starting a business. I'd say it really kicked off about 6 years ago. And you know what? I think I'm just going to wait for this fool to get back from pissing so I can tell him. But I met somebody. I think I met somebody who was like a mentor. Like he kind of mentored me. Yeah. So like, I think what really got the gears rolling is like, I started cleaning carpets for this company called Zero Res. And the owner of the company, his name was Scott. And he kind of like took me under his wing. He like really liked me. He was like, I could tell he was like, all right, this guy's competent. He works hard, and he could be a good like leader in my company, right? Like I felt like that was kind of the vibe I got from him. And I was that. I am that, you know, like I've always just been an asset wherever I've worked. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's one of the reasons like why I felt like I could go off on my own too, is because it's like I know I'm smart enough and I'm capable to do this. But that's also a trap. I must say that. It's also a trap. Like just because you're a good technician doesn't mean you're a good owner operator.
Oh no! By all means, this was something that I preach because
Yes.
I want to bring people into my circle.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for people who have had some type of journey to project to
Mhm.
what my main objective is, working with children, kind of the same type of foundation what you have.
Yeah.
But with kids that have gone through, you know, either are homeless or are struggling to finish their high school diploma. Because honestly, bro, let's be honest, like you've seen it. Those 4 years make a foundation to who you are. And those groups, whether you like it or not, whether you hang out with the rock kids or you hang here it's not.
Yeah.
Not being stereotypical, but
Yeah.
I'm saying these groups develop a sense of persona within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that you're going to be there, you're going to figure out exactly who you are, but it might be a road that teaches you certain things.
Yeah.
Fucking up is the process, and those 4 years teach you how to fuck up real good.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, yeah, but so this dude Scott, very business savvy, right? Very knowledgeable, and essentially what he did was like these guys had the money and he had the knowledge and skill to run the business because he was like a main trainer for like the company over on a national level. So he, he asked me, what are your aspirations? What do you want to do? And I was like, I want to own a business one day, like I'm going to do this. Like I very much feel like I got caught up in like the extravagance of entrepreneurship that we've had over the last like decade or so. You know what I'm saying? I feel like entrepreneurship has been built up to this, like, it
was just a word. Look at this is a
like
story.
back in the day, nobody wanted to be a business owner. Like it wasn't flashy, but now it's kind of flashy. But like it almost like it's like once you start doing it, you're like, it's not flashy. This shit sucks. It's hard. It's like I have to grind so hard, and it's not like this like extravagant thing that everybody puts out. You know what I'm saying? It's really
it can be, and it's rewarding.
It can, but it's like after you grind, you know what I'm saying? Like you can enjoy the fruits of your labor, but that might take 5-10 years, and there are very fun aspects of it. Don't get me wrong.
Everything has a climax, but everything can also have an end. So everything does come to an end. Everything is not perpetual. Meaning that everything is rebirthed or renovated. But if you don't go to that point, to just to experience it and actually fuck up and do it again and find a different venue and do it again in a different way.
Yeah.
Look, this is funny, bro. But when I went to Watson, Pancho was my trainer or my guide or whatever. And
Pancho, shout out to Pancho.
Shout out Pancho. Pancho Valenzuela, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
funny fucker.
Yeah, he was funny, man. You got the strawberry, my man. I told him, he's like, what do you do? And I was like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. And he's like, well, what do you do? I was like, oh, I sell insurance. And he just started laughing. And I'm like, what's funny? And he was like, I'm an entrepreneur. He's like, my family, grew up selling, insurance or properties or whatever. And I've always felt with that route. And I was almost like a feeling in a sense like he was like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, you don't know what the fuck the meaning of entrepreneur means. You're just throwing it out because you just started Primerica or some bullshit.
Yeah.
So he's like, breaking down the meaning of entrepreneurship. And my head's like, I'm like, shit, I'm a fucking idiot.
No, that was the thing about Pancho, though, is that he kind of came off as like a dipshit, like a dickhead, like a dipshit. But like once you got to know him, you're like, this fool's like on his shit. Like he knows what's up. That's how it was for me anyway. I was like, I found out like, all right, he's kind of playing motherfuckers a little bit, like not playing them, but he's like, it's like misdirection. It's like, oh, you think I'm this way, but I'm right over here. You know what I'm saying? So, and I always loved that about Pancho. You know what I'm saying?
He's a good character.
Yeah. I like
him and Benny Hodges.
Dude, Benny Hodges was the fucking greatest, dude. He was so funny. Oh my God. He was great. Yeah. Yeah. Good old Benny. But yeah, like that, and that, what I said earlier though, like there's a difference between a good technician, someone who's good in a company, and someone who's a good entrepreneur. And I'll be straight up with you. Like it's been almost 2 years now since we started that business. And there's been plenty of times where I've questioned whether or not I'm cut out for this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard. Like, there was a lot of very stressful situations. There's even more now. It's still stressful, but it's like a lot of really late nights. It's like working from home, figuring out a schedule. Like, you think working from home is going to be the best thing of your life, and then all of a sudden you realize that no, it's like now you can do whatever the fuck you want, and then you're putting shit off until late in the night, and then all of a sudden you're working till 4 a.m. because you didn't do your shit in the morning. You know what I'm saying? It's like you got to build the schedule. You got and it's like, and that's what's weird is like I I finally got that part down, like where I was like, all right, let's do this. And I was like feeling really good about everything. And then like, what's weird is I kind of like stepped away, and it's not because of, it wasn't hard. It wasn't this or it wasn't that. It was because I was trying to follow what my heart was telling me. You know what I'm saying? And so like I've come to the acceptance a little bit that my path is a little bit different than actually being an entrepreneur. It's not that I'm not cut out for it. I still plan on doing it, but I may be doing the wrong thing by choosing this path, like forcing it. You know what I'm saying? Rather than not going with what my heart's telling me to do. And that's to go to school. And you know, school's not for everybody. You know what I'm saying? I think it's for practical things. But in the end, it's going to lead to a private practice.
I think working with children, you have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to have that sense of not because you want to be in a higher position to have the authority, but more that you want to educate them in a higher sense using certain techniques that are taught through education.
Yeah. And maybe I am more of an educator. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you have a sense of educating people through a different sense.
And maybe it's not like, maybe my path isn't down the road of being a CEO or a CFO, or you know what I'm saying?
You are a CEO.
Yeah. But like, maybe it is as well. Maybe it's just, it's going through different stages and I'm going to get there eventually. And that's ultimately what I have to just be like, you know what? I'm good with whatever comes. I'm not forcing an issue. This life is beautiful. You know, like sometimes you just kind of got to be like, fuck
take it in.
Just woosah. You know what I'm saying? Like just let shit happen. And it goes a little easier that way.
And it's not about making it easier. Don't get the wrong perspective when he says that.
No,
it's never about making it easy.
No, it really isn't. And there's a lot of like paradox in the way I talk. And you know what I'm saying? Like I can come off sometimes as like, making it sound easy, but I trust that I am down to do the hardest shit there is.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Because it takes character to build a certain type of persona.
Yeah.
And in order to understand like where you're coming from, you have to understand the person, how they're speaking. For example, we had certain teachers at this program who left us at the beginning or end of the program because the program was dissolving. Mm-hmm. The students were kind of like flowing somewhere like within limbo.
Yeah.
I finished my high school diploma. I was 21 credits behind. I was pretty much not done with school at all.
Yeah.
And within 6 months, I finished.
Yeah.
Because the teachers were helping us. They were there. But once they left, it was so hard to finish that I finished, within time or maybe sooner. Graduated, within that month. But I was a super, super senior. But when they left, it felt like something was happening to us. Like if there was just like no way of finishing now because everything was just dissolving. I feel like that's foundation of the people who have gone through the pain, who have gone through some sense of experience that carry wisdom with them. I'm not saying that everybody has to have wisdom. It's just that knowledge that you carry is different from somebody who has just been silver spoon fed. And I'm not putting people down, but like people who have just a different perspective in life or are entitled. And some of those people happen to be educators, where they don't have that same sense or perception, and they just rather just give up and not continue, right? So it's like it can hurt not only the educator, but as well the person who's being educated.
Yeah.
And it's like you need to be in the right sense. And I feel like what better person than Anthony Prolific,
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, because like that's working with this kid program has been my biggest fear, is that I came into it with no experience, and they kind of thrust me into certain responsibilities, like actually going into some of these children's homes with some pretty profound trauma and some pretty profound like behavioral issues, you know what I'm saying? And they had like the utmost confidence in me to go do this stuff, but like in my brain it was like, okay, like my thing is I don't want to go in and cause more damage. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to cause damage, so I'm like I have to really take a step back, realize what I'm doing, really learn, because that thing can happen. You can do more harm than good. You know what I'm saying? If you're not like aware of that for sure. Yeah.
It takes a person, like I said, it takes a person to actually heal and know.
And if you feel that sense, bro, but more power to you, continue with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, man.
Bro, as a child, what was your dream or aspiration?
I don't know. I know I don't know. I was very imaginative. But as far as like, if you're asking maybe like what was the thing where I was like, I want to do this? Is that kind of what you're asking? Like,
yeah, like when you were little and you're just like, everybody tells us at school, like you can be whatever you want.
Yeah.
What was it that you would say?
Yeah. That's a hard question because I don't ever really remember having like a distinct answer for that.
He was a thug.
Yeah. No, it's just like I don't actually remember being like, oh, I want to be a firefighter. You know what I'm saying? Or I want to be an artist. Like it wasn't until like I was actually in high school and I was getting out of high school that I wanted to make movies. Like I wanted to make movies and I wanted to write. I went to college like for film writing and digital arts and stuff like that. But as a kid, like I was just like, I don't know. I was just in my own little world, I guess. I didn't really think about it. I did play sports and I was pretty good at sports and I would like fantasize about being in the NFL and stuff like that. But I never like had like a supreme passion that I really, really want. I remember I wanted to be a ninja.
Professional ninja?
Yeah, like a legit ass ninja.
That's
And
badass.
I would crawl around my house and make sure nobody could see me. And then like if someone saw me, I was like, fuck. Better go start over again. Yeah. No, like, but you know what I'm saying? I was just very like in that little realm. But like, yeah, I wanted to be a movie maker. And when I see our buddy Sergio doing his thing right now, like, it's again, I'm like squirrel. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, this motherfucker's out there like making movies. He's like doing acting, and like I really admire that. And I'm just like, there's another part of me that also sees like myself doing something like that. Like I could pursue it and I could go for it.
Stay tuned. We're going to have a couple actors on board as well as Sergio. We'll have Chess Brown, a good actor, Claudius, known as the Snake Father.
All those people work within the film industry.
Yeah.
For him, for example, Claudius, and I briefly know his story because he's put it out there. I haven't really had a conversation with him with this ridiculous. We have had contact for a while, but we never really like talk on the phone. But he's always put out his story. You know, I was working back set, production, and then somebody saw my hustle, and then somebody came up to me and just asked me to work a set. I did a set with Snakes, and then Snakes got involved, and then now they're asking me to do films with Snakes and bring Snakes for acting. Like he does music videos with actors and rappers and shit. So it's like because of his hustle, because of the grind, like they saw that with his eye, and that's what brought him to set. And correct me if I'm wrong, man, but I don't know exactly the full story. We're going to discuss it on the podcast, but that's an admirational story, where like he had no sense of like acting quality. Maybe he did, or he did go to school. I'm not too sure. Yeah. But somebody just being drawn from his pure grind, that's admirable. That's the underdog.
Yeah. Are you talking about Sergio?
No, I'm talking about Claudius.
Oh,
Snake
Claudius.
Father.
Oh yeah. No, I don't know him. Yeah.
No, like that's what I was saying.
That's awesome though. Like it is. It's. Some people are born with that though. You know what I'm saying? Like you are born with that. Like you may not have had it, but like you have charisma. Like you have it. You know what I'm saying? You just have to tap into it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And like some people just tap into it. I feel like a lot of us have just stuff within us that is so untapped that we might not never know we're good at it. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what like stuff that the graveyard dies, And it's
like,
shit.
Yeah, it's kind of insane.
Imagine where the evolutionary process would be at if that consciousness had been woke. Not to use the word woken.
Right.
It's too overplayed now.
Yeah.
Bro, what's your favorite animal?
My favorite animal has always been a tiger.
Tiger King.
Yeah, tiger.
Ever since else you need to tell us?
Ever since I don't know.
He likes to be tickled.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, Tiger. As a kid, yeah, Tiger was my shit. Like, I loved them. They're beautiful. They're solitary. Um, they're just amazing. Big cats in general. Like, I love big cats, panthers, all that. Those have always been like.
Do you have cats?
I don't. That's the weird thing about it is like.
If you want Bengal cats or Sphinx, I have a breeder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's crazy to me is like pit bulls have always reminded me of big cats.
It's weird
because of their face structure and
food
everything.
dog.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like a pit bull, but
Yeah.
it's a cat.
Yeah, it's a cat. And it's like, it's weird. You look at a lion's face, and you look at like a meaty like pit bull, they look similar, you know? Their demeanors, like they're just big and lumbery, and like they're just like, oh fuck you up.
It's like a griffin.
Yeah. It's like, it's so like, I don't know, I think it's kind of weird that big cats and dogs are kind of connected in that way.
Yeah.
But you know.
So as a kid, did you ever have cats?
Never. No, I've always wanted kind of a cat, and I kind of have cats now, but I call them hood kitties, and they're just like the neighborhood cats that come through. And I have a water turtle in the front of my yard, and usually I'll pull up from work or wherever I'm coming from, and there'll be like 2 cats in there trying to like get him out of the water, and we got to shoo him off and stuff. But I would get a cat. I totally would get a cat. Yeah, my buddy has a really cool cat named Willow, and I like them so much just because they don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? They're like they're just kind of off doing their thing, but I do love cats. And they're kind of like feral in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Like cats just have that sense about them. But I wouldn't mind a cat. I think it's trying to convince my wife to get one because she's just convinced that the smell is just overwhelming. And I'm just like, my buddy has 2 cats, and I don't even know that he has cats walking into his house. You know what I'm saying?
Did you tell that I had cats when you walked in?
No, I couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed you had cats.
Because you have to clean it on a daily.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like there's that, but I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, man. A cat. Interesting. Have you ever had any or felt any spiritual connection with any animal or human?
With an animal
besides your wife?
Yeah. Yeah, actually a spiritual connection with a human is actually, so my business partner, Tristan, that we created Mind Shrooms together. And he is a spiritual being. Like he really is. And he's kind of helped, I would say he's totally helped me kind of blossom as a spiritual being as well. And it's cool because it's like, I love these conversations. I love getting into conversations that others might find just really weird. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe it's off-putting a little bit, like the conversation that me and you can have, you know, about it and get really deep into it. I can have with him. And it's just like we get what each other's talking about. You know what I'm saying? He's
like a sense of connection almost.
Yeah, it's a sense of connection. And like I feel like some people might look at him and be like, yeah, he's just like this little hippie boy like this. But like when you get deeper into knowing him, like he is connected on a spiritual level. He really is. He's tapped in a little bit deeper than most people are. Yeah. So it's kind of cool. And that's why I'm glad like I have him, because I can go and have good conversations. You know what I'm saying? I can have these conversations where it's like I couldn't go and talk to, you know, my buddy Matt. Like, you know what I'm saying? Where he'd be like, shut the fuck up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd be like, you know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, it would just end up coming down to like a shit talking fest. You know what I'm saying? Because he's just not into it, and that's fine. That's cool. But I'm glad I have that with Tristan, you know? As far as like an animal, I don't know. Like, honestly, like, yeah, like we keep talking about the turtles. Like the turtles are weird. Like, it's just kind of weird. Like they found me, right? Like the turtles have found me, both of them. I didn't like go purchase my turtles. I have a sulcata, an African spurred tortoise, and I have a water turtle, like a red-eared slider. And the red-eared slider we found in our pool. And it was like when there was like maybe 10 gallons at the bottom of the pool, like it was empty pretty much. It was just a bunch of nasty green water at the bottom of it. And one night it's just like you see a little head pop out of there and you're like, what the fuck is in the water, you know? And come to find out it's just a red-eared slider in the random backyard. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how did you get there? You know what I'm saying? Like, where did you come from? Like, was a bird carrying you? Like, it swooped you out of a lake and then like accidentally dropped you? Or like, did you find your way out of a neighbor's pond and into my yard? Like, I don't even know how this happened. It's just kind of weird. But the kids named him Deadpool.
That's cool.
So it's a cool little name, and he's about the big as these books right now. And then our other turtle, the sulcata. So when I first bought my house, I was in the backyard and I was like taking trash out into the alleyway, and I was throwing the trash, and I noticed in the alleyway there's just this big old hump in the middle of the alley, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Like a giant rock in the middle of the road. It was nighttime. It was dark. I couldn't see, and I walked up on it, and it was like 100-pound sulcata, like a giant sulcata, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, it was just a trip, you know. And so I took pictures and I put it on like a lost and found Facebook group or something on the east side, and we ended up finding the owners, and then they found their turtle, right? And it was probably like 2 blocks up the street. It was somebody's turtle, and they escaped because they burrow like crazy, and they're just really strong animals. Like, they can break down a wooden fence like no problem. And that's what happened. So fast forward like 2 years, me and my wife are like walking out to the car to go to work one morning, and she notices it like up against the garage door. It's just a little mound, and she's like, what's that? And I looked, and I was like, I don't know. And then like I like looked again, and I was like, that's a turtle. And it was like a little baby turtle. It was a baby sulcata, and it had to be the babies for that turtle.
Tortoise.
That tortoise. That, you know what I'm saying though? Like, I don't know how it got all the way over there and then came up to my driveway again. And I was like, I'm keeping this, dude. Like, I'm keeping this bad boy. Like, it's cool. Like, this is meant to be. I'm keeping this fucker. And it's like, I don't know. It's like there is this quiet wisdom within them. Like, it's like they're ancient. It's like they're ancient. They know, and it's like, I don't know. It's like they're a little bit slow, and that's kind of why. Not that I'm like slow, you know what I'm saying? But like, sometimes I've always felt like a slow starter. And like, I've taken my time to kind of finally become where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? So I do like resonate with the turtle a little bit.
He hit puberty at 20.
Yeah. Actually, I hit puberty in like 3rd grade, but
third grade.
but no, it's like the tortoise and the hare, right? So it's like, that's the cool thing about that story is like, yeah, the hare is like very fast and burst, right? And it's like it's always, but he kind of gets complacent, right? You know, and it's like the turtle is just very consistent and doesn't stop and plods along. And that's kind of how I've felt a little bit throughout my life, a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's like I've never like just taken a break, but I've always just like made slow progress. And that adds up over time, you know? So like you just kind of got to trust in that process a little bit. But
trust yourself, trust your intuition, trust where you're going.
Yeah.
It's not you don't have to know where you're going. Let's put it at that.
Yeah, you can end up at some random stranger's house
or in jail.
Yeah.
What is a practice or habit you would be willing to share that you do, whether it be spiritual or non-spiritual, or a tactic that you use that you think that might be suitable for the public?
I have a bunch, man. I mean,
something dear to heart.
Yeah.
If you'd like to share.
Yeah. No, I'd love to. I'd love to share. I always like sharing. Yeah, meditation. Obviously, if you're not into it like that, it really can change your world. But visualization, like deep visualization, has profoundly impacted me. You know what I'm saying? Like I've gotten a lot from it. But it started from meditation. You know. Also, like cold plunging. Like I love all these newer tools, you know, like cold plunging is amazing. It's probably one of the best things I've ever done for myself, especially if you do it.
What's cold plunging?
So like basically I went and bought like a big trough from Ace Hardware. It's 100-gallon like horse trough, pretty much. I fill it up about 3/4 of the way, about 70 gallons, and I throw about 80 pounds of ice in it. And it brings the temperature down to about 36 degrees. And then I just jump in that motherfucker for about 5 minutes. And it has a lot of benefits. I started it personally for mental health kind of stuff because it just really zaps you out of that. You know what I'm saying? It wakes you up. It's kind of about like overcoming that fight or flight response. You know, so like with people with trauma, like if you're overstimulated or anything, and like this fight or flight response will trigger sometimes. And so for some people it's very extreme. So like you either want to run away or you want to get crazy, you want to fight. And then there's also a third response that not many people are aware of, and it's a freeze response where you just kind of freeze in place. And I'm more prone to freezing. I'm kind of like I kind of like shut down. You know what I'm saying? I don't flee, but I don't go forward and fight either. Like I just kind of like go inward and like shut down. You know what I'm saying? So it's like for me, it really snaps me out of my head, and it like gets me like it gets me. So what it does is like you try to get into a 35-degree water. It feels like you're about to jump off a cliff. Like it really does. Like it's scary because it's so cold. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's tapping into something primal in you that's causing fear, you know? But you do it, and then like you learn to settle in. You get into the water, and then you get in a cold shower, cold water, you're like, like you can't breathe. But once you can learn to like breathe with all that stress coming onto you, you learn to like settle down and you calm your nervous system. And it's basically like putting yourself into voluntary stress. And when you put yourself into voluntary stress like that, especially early on in the day, early on in the morning, I'm big about like doing these things in the morning. But if something comes into your day, like overwhelming through the day, you're more grounded and you're more ready to deal with it. Like it doesn't impact you. It doesn't send you into a spiral. You know what I'm saying? It like really helps you in that sense. So, yeah, that's a great one. The cold plunge is really great. And it's kind of intimidating to just jump straight into like doing a cold plunge or jumping into icy water. And so you can start off by like, in your showers, just turn the knob down to the coldest setting you can handle for like the last 30 seconds of your shower. You know what I'm saying? And then bump it up to 45 seconds or a minute. And then, over time, if you do this gradually, you might even be able to just turn the cold water on and just jump into a cold shower and just take a cold shower. And then from there, you can jump into the ice bath. You know what I'm saying? But cold exposure is very, very good for you. It's also like they even say like exposing yourself to it over a prolonged period of time for a very consistent period of time. There's a thing called brown adipose fat tissue on you, and when you're very, very cold, your body's brown fat actually uses the white fat as an energy source. So it's like it can actually help people maintain weight or even lose weight. You have to do it very consistently and for a long time. But there's a lot of studies done on cold exposure, and I think the biggest impact is mental health. But it'll snap you right out of it. Yeah,
that's a good practice for sure. I need to try that, man. I haven't.
I'm really all about mental health, man. Like mental health is going to be. If you're in a mental funk, it's going to make everything else in your life harder. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about really keeping yourself, on that right track mentally, and then everything else, is like clockwork.
Definitely. Bro, who would you consider your spirit animal to be?
My spirit animal. So up until like the maybe the last couple years of my life, I would say the chameleon. Just because I've always been chameleonic in my personality. I feel like I've always been able to blend in, and it's not. And I'm not saying this as like a braggadocious kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? It's almost kind of a part of me that I don't like. I've always not liked so much, but
our mimicking is on point.
Yeah, it's like it's not so much mimicking, but like it is. Like I can be who I need to be in the situation. You know what I'm saying? To blend in, you know what I'm saying? Like I can't. It's like a weird thing. It's always been like a defense mechanism. I think, you know what I'm saying? It's always been like where I can like maybe stay under the radar a little bit. I can. I can mimic. I can be this person that you need to be. That's why I've always kind of been like a class clown kind of type. You know what I'm saying? Like the funny guy or whatever. Like, it's. I would say that's it. But it's also like the chameleons have been great people over the centuries too. You know, it's almost like I'm trying to see it in a more positive light as I get older, because it's kind of like the book, The 48 Laws of Power. Have you ever heard of this book?
Probably.
So it's by one of my favorite authors. His name's Robert Greene, and he read The 48 Laws of Power, and he has a bunch of like stories about people in history, and I really recommend it. You should check it out. But it's a very controversial book, because many people think it's a book that is teaches you how to be manipulative, and you can use the tactics in that book for good or for evil. You know what I'm saying? You can use it to be malicious, or you could also use it to to be tactful in life. And that's how I feel like I've always been. Like even before I read that book, that's why I felt like I was so chameleon-like, because it's like I always use tactics like that. You know what I'm saying? But like I said earlier too, is like in the last couple years, I'm actually learning to stand out a little bit and be very comfortable with it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, instead of like the chameleon blending into the trees, you know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm starting to become that chameleon that is like a plethora of psychedelic colors amongst the trees.
Parks and Chameleon.
Yeah.
The colorful one.
The colorful one.
Have you ever seen those Parks and Chameleon?
Yeah. But I have, yeah. But I'm starting to feel like I'm now okay standing out, and I'm more comfortable with it now. You know what I'm saying? And I don't need to blend in anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I guess that's like on some real shit like that. I feel like that's always been like my true animal, you know? Yeah.
I can relate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it. You're in a sense, taking all the spectrum of the light and seeing it. You're camouflaging in the sense to make yourself feel comfortable,
mm-hmm.
and allowing your environment to just grow. Because chameleons can be more. People think that they're hard to care, but it's really just a lump of getting them over certain ages and then keeping certain adequate temperatures. But they're very hardy, believe it or not. It's more of they look at everything around you, and they're very inquisitive on what their step is. They rethink their process. So it's like, I can see that.
Yeah.
Man, so that was pretty much it, brother. The spirit animal, you say you concise with,
Yeah.
It's aspirational to see that who you like, because when I asked who your favorite animal was, you said it was the cats, but that wasn't in any sense your spirit animal.
Yeah.
So I think like you giving off a sense of where you stand as a chameleon, you camouflage. You're really showing us your true colors by saying that, because it's like you are a salesperson, in the whole spirit realm, because in a sense that's what they are.
Yeah,
they are very flashy. They can be very beautiful, very elongated and elegant in the way they just move. So I can see the elegancy in your talk. That's cool, bro.
Yeah.
Like nobody, I wouldn't expect it a reptile.
Yeah. No, I didn't either. And the reason I really said that is because a long time ago, when I first went back to school, or I went to the college like right after high school, and I was in a writing class, and they're like, "What animal are you?" And it was like no hesitation. I was the chameleon back then too. And it felt weird saying it aloud at that point. I remember like I read it aloud to everybody, like what I wrote. And I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, I really still am that. You know what I'm saying? But it's like there's an evolution to it, and it's awesome to like see it.
Doesn't just stay a pupa; it evolves to a beautiful butterfly.
Yeah, for sure.
Anthony's a beautiful butterfly. All righty, man. Well, it was a pleasure having you on the Spirit Animal Podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Another great episode with the one and only Anthony Prolific. Guys, thank you so much for who did check in. Bosa, appreciate you, brother. You all have a wonderful night. We'll check in here on next Thursday. We do have 3 to announce. We'll have Sean from Mean Mug, also known as Mean Mug. We'll have Mizo Creatures on Friday, and as well South Bay Reptiles on Saturday of next week. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining us. You all have a wonderful night. Always much love.
Peace.